like air bubbles rising in soda. Her memories were flying up to the surface. She felt them as memories, but couldn't call them so. Some unrestrained urge prompted her to write them down, bit by bit, so as not to let them blow her mind and not forget them altogether with the first sun rays touching the earth. A face with vibrant sea blue eyes, fresh, unblemished, slightly tanned skin, and unruly hair, with a distinct red tint to it reflected in the dark waters of the river, and a thought, "Am I really 26 already?" A gentle hand, uncertainly scribbling letters with a goose pen, the smell of ink, the sound of coarse paper disturbed by the pen's point. A contagious laugh, young, genuine, and the presence of her older brother, with his big hands opening a heavy, leather-bound book in front of her. A wave of unrestricted joy and a fluffy, awkward thing whining on her lap slightly. Her brother's unexpected gift and her loyal friend to the very end. A feeling, oh, that unbounded feeling of life all around you, singing, jumping, smelling, moving, changing, lulling you like a baby or thrashing you with cold water, bending you by its forces only to wake in excitement to feel every cell of your body, living. Tarragon returned to her senses abruptly, hearing the neighbor's car starting the engine. She wouldn't be able to say how long she had written, but she felt exhausted, blunt, and sleepy. She put her diary on the chair, turned off the lamp, and curled up under a heavy blanket, feeling chills like she had just come from that rainy, forested land. The stunned feeling stayed in her head, but no thoughts disturbed her. The curtains of her eyes closed, and she fell into a deep, refreshing sleep with no dreams. She woke up hearing her worldly name called, her mom's face in front of her, an expression of worry and irritation in an unequal fight over it. The irritation grazed her, disturbing her sleep self, pulling on the strings connecting her to the now. Another effort, and she mumbled something like, "Am walkin' up," tucking the warm blanket closer to her, discontentment growing. Tarragon hated being woken up by someone. She loved silent mornings. She craved silent mornings. But in the next instant, she remembered all and sat upright in a split second. Heart beating fast, she opened her diary and skimmed pages and pages of her writing. A disassociating sensation crawled over her. She didn't remember writing that at all, but here it was, all written down, neatly enough to comprehend. "No, thank you. I've had enough of this," thought Tarragon, and closed the diary with a pop. She was fully awake now and strangely energized. The mental horizon of hers was unusually clear too. She was used to her morning buzzing of thoughts. Like bees, they threatened to overflow and bite anyone who happened to be nearby. But silence? This is something new, thought the young witch. She liked this state of hers. Probably that's how normal people feel every day, added the young woman. Hot instant coffee with milk, fried to crust eggs, and her sense of reality came back almost fully. Like a patient who finally stepped on the path of recovery, she felt the urge to live, to do simple home chores, to work outside, to grasp her physical side of life tightly and never let go. First, she washed her dishes carefully, dried them with a soft, clean towel, and put everything in the old kitchen cupboard with slightly squeaky doors. Their home was quite venerable, but neat and cared for. This was one of a few things in which she was united with her mother. They both loved to live in a clean, tidy dwelling. The young woman's notion was that disorder outside only makes more disorder within, and to deal with the latter was hard enough without adding something else. She saw many examples around her of people whose accommodations screamed of despair, frustration, or disillusion, and eventually those energies swallowed them into oblivion, physical or spiritual. Perhaps to lose herself in such a trivial way was one of her biggest fears. Days and weeks went by. Tarragon enjoyed her fresh and mentally unburdened state. She put her efforts into cleaning, tidying, trimming, pruning, walking, de-weeding, laundering, shopping, ironing, watering, sweeping, washing, decorating, and dusting. She still avoided her diary and was fully distracted by her earthly life. So much so that she even amused herself by remembering how she declared herself a free witch. A dialogue like this was often broadcast in her mind these days. Who would call you a free person, not even a witch, if you live in your parents' home again? It depends on what we consider freedom. Surely not the inability to buy one's food or pay one's bills. A human being should be able to see the bigger picture. The years of self-education must come to fruition sooner or later. The only condition for that is to keep going. Better sooner or later, the wind will blow your undernourished being far away. But another cup of coffee brought a new idea, a new hope, a new nuance that may change it all. It seemed that her life, her real life, was richly unfolded in her inner world first, and then poorly reflected into the limited reality that everyone saw. Still, her cordial, unrestrained lifestyle was her way, and she felt it to the core. Being friendly to herself, feeling the flow, being flexible and open-minded, helped her more than the static rigidity of rational rules and schedules. Therefore, some evenings she let herself swim freely in the internet ocean, to find connections to the patterns of her mind that she was so often surprised to discover in an absolutely different sphere of her interests. One of those evenings, she came across a website about Ireland's cultural heritage, and heading straight to the gallery section, saw a photograph of an old leather-bound handmade book or journal the historians found in the dungeons of Cahir Castle. It seemed vaguely familiar, but only after she saw the pages written in uneven, somewhat childish handwriting was she struck by her revelation. It was the same book her dream prompted memories of, the same handwriting. It was her old self's scribble. She instantly felt the smell of ink, leather, and old parchment, and the sensation of soft, well-tanned leather touching her fingers, as well as a joy mingled with caution, excitement fighting with attention. The article under the artifact's photos revealed that the scientists were surprised to find out the history of this journal and were able to read and translate a few well-preserved pages written in Irish Gaelic. The translation went as follows: "How wonderful it would be one day to fall into a deep dream, as bears or hedgehogs in winter do, until the others thought me dead, but later wake up from the slumber and live a free and unbounded life." The other pieces led the historians to the opinion that the young woman was forced to marry a tyrannical man who called her a witch, and she dreamed of being released from that abusive relationship. The journal was supposedly dated late 16th century and belonged to a higher-class woman. All the other circumstances of her life, including where she got her education, the privilege typically belonged to the male part of the high society families, who her husband was, and how her life further unfolded, are matters of further research, said the article dryly, while Tarragon's heart ached with emotions. She was so stunned by it that she couldn't think straight. Impulsively, she closed her laptop, jumped to her feet, and rushed outside. "Breathe, just breathe deep," spoke her inner voice. The cold, humid air was rich with wet autumn leaves aroma, thinly veiled rain falling on her hot forehead. She was standing near her neat garden mix border, tightly holding the cold metal bars of the light fence her father made many years ago. She wished her dog would come to her, sit by her leg, weighing her heavy mastiff self on her, like saying, "Whatever is happening, I'm right by you." But her dog wasn't there anymore. She couldn't touch her warm, velvety head. Bang! The heavy door to the inner yard slammed, startling her, returning her to the earth.
"Are you okay?"
she heard her mom saying. Tarragon swallowed the lump in her throat and tried to answer as naturally as possible. "Yeah, just a crazy headache. I'll be right back." The young woman stayed a few more minutes, with each inhale and exhale, grounding herself, getting back to her senses. She tried to analyze what actually had happened, but couldn't. Her mind kept returning to the present moment, kept grasping material reality with all its might, refusing to think, scared to cross that line. "Okay, I won't think about it now. I will pretend that nothing happened. There must be some absolutely logical explanation. Surely it's just my overreactive, overcaffeinated brain making wrong conclusions. I'll make a nice hot cup of tea with a tiny drop of milk and honey and we'll forget about it. At least for now." No one could ever blame Tarragon for her inability to distract herself from objective reality. It was her thing. This time, she chose to immerse herself in one of her favorite kinds of escapism, watching an ancient detective series, Inspector Morse. The old-fashioned detective, with his fancy tastes and restless mind, love of opera music, crosswords, and impeccable British manners, all against the background of Oxford scenery, brought the feeling of normality she craved this evening. Deep down, she knew the answer. She knew what had happened. But the notion of it refused to form into words. Her heart asked for a break, and she heard its plea. An intricate crime story. That's what she could tolerate now. Reliable, honest, decent, and lonely, Inspector Morse would see justice be obtained. Only after she realized she couldn't connect any dots or remember any names from another episode did she turn off her laptop and go to sleep. Tarragon opened her eyes at 8 o'clock the next morning. Her first thought was, good, third day in a row, same time, and no alarm needed. Despite going to bed very late yesterday, she felt refreshed. The storm of her emotions had calmed down. She felt a new dawn on the horizon. By the old habit, she didn't rush to wake up, but lay comfortably, thinking what she would do today. The sky beside her window was clear and blue, and Tarragon had a wish to go outside, to have one of her mind-free, careless walks. Giving herself a few minutes yet to enjoy silence, she slid from under her cozy blanket, pulled on the fluffy dressing gown, grabbed her clothes from the chair nearby, and went to the kitchen. The heat was barely on. That's why she preferred to change in their bathroom, one of the few humanly warm rooms in the house. After tidying herself up, having breakfast, and noting some items on her shopping list, she went out. This autumn seemed especially beautiful to the young witch. The leaves on the trees were burning with colors. They changed their shades and tints slowly, adding to the palette, seemed like with every hour, some new accents. Just yesterday, the sky poured merciless amounts of water all around, making the air thick and tasty with smells. But today, all plants were refreshed with a new hope to catch a bit of the last warmth from the sun, like a memory to cherish in their winter sleep. Tarragon's light walk brought her to a little cafe, because the lack of sleep crept upon her and started to distract her from the beauty around. She ordered her usual espresso with milk and took her seat at the cozy little table. The cafe didn't have the premises, except for a catering trailer, but they compensated for this by creatively arranging a little yard in front of it. The yard had interesting furniture, covered with mosaics, live plants smartly placed to separate its clients from the noisy street. A garland decorated the perimeter, and there were always some catchy seasonal installations to allure passers-by. What Tarragon liked the most, though, except for the tasty coffee, was their taste in music. She had a bad memory for the singers and band names, but it was old, vintage music, surviving through time and short-lived trends. It was rare to hear old jazz or rock in their little town. Strangely, But the importunate clamor and constant movement of people and cars on the street nearby helped Tarragon to hear her thoughts. Or maybe it was the magic of the brew? She took out her phone, opened a notebook app, and slowly drank her hot coffee, envisioning all the details of her dream. Her hand hesitated for a moment, then typed, "What if it was really me living centuries ago?" Starting with the question, Tarragon couldn't stop herself and featured her session with numerous question marks. Why didn't I see any diaries? Why show me her life so fragmented, like a broken vase? Why did the woman have my face, but red hair? Here she distracted herself with an amusing thought. How would I look with such a hair color? She saw her modern attire combined with that dark red tint of hers for a second, but quickly returned to her questions. What happened to her afterwards? How did her magic work? Was she a witch, as her husband called her? Did she, Tarragon, inherit that magic of hers? Does it mean she'd be able to hibernate herself by will? Was it all a dream or a vision? The young woman continued to write her questions without particular hope of getting answers anytime soon. After her second coffee was finished and no new inquiry added, she continued her walk, choosing her route randomly, feeling at ease after unloading at least a part of her silent but heavy baggage. The next part of her day, the young woman spent at her laptop, finishing her drawings, making digital products from her raw sketches. She liked her freelance way of living. It didn't fully support her financially, but worked as an anchor that kept her volatile, hectic nature grounded and focused, at least for some time. It also provided her with the solitude she couldn't imagine her life without. Tarragon finished her day with another episode of Inspector Morse and fell asleep under the sad melody of the main soundtrack. 8 o'clock, and she woke up as a morning bird. Can't believe I'm still doing it, thought the young witch. It's probably the biggest miracle of this week. Tarragon felt bold enough to get up at 8:30 a.m. and even celebrated it with a vigorous power yoga session led by the attractive American YouTuber. Yoga helped her stay fit and flexible, and often worked as a buffer workout between her short Tabata-style morning trainings. In this area, like in many others, she allowed herself freedom to choose what exercises to do. The main rule was to do at least something, even if it was simple squats. Feeling warmed up and invigorated, the woman went to the dimly lit bathroom to do morning washing, thinking cheerfully about the day ahead. When she finally did rinse her face with icy cold water and straightened up her back to glance in the mirror, she instantly closed her eyes, opened them again, and looked at herself closely, muttering, "Holy cow!" Even though the light was dim and soft, she clearly saw a young woman with bright sea blue eyes and dark red hair looking at her in astonishment.